you drinking for a beer?
I don't know.
You don't know what it is?
Nope.
It's not like Jester King.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
I don't know what it is though.
What type of beer?
It's the same thing. It just they when it's mixed culture, there's not really a way to like put your finger on it. You can tell with their fruited program, like what steps in as far as ingredients, but this I just have no clue.
Mm.
All I know is like
When you say mixed cultured, what do you mean by that?
that'll actually make for. I'm sure it'll come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the combo as far as like, because I have a depiction of what beer and alcohol used to be and then what it is now.
Mm.
Same with tobacco, same with food, everything.
I'd love to get into that. And when I got here to Austin in September of 2021. I'm currently doing a little challenge for myself to abstain from alcohol for about a year. We'll see what happens after that. But when I first moved here, I went to Jester King like maybe 7 or 8 times. I love the atmosphere. And I think when I first met you, it was here at Squatch. And I saw you wearing like this purple, I think it was like a Jester King tank top. And
it was cute.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was very cute. And I had asked you if you've been there before, and you said you used to work there, and you were raising the goats.
Yes,
there.
sir.
So you've been in the Austin area for like around 10 years?
Yeah, I think like a baker's dozen about.
A baker's dozen.
That means 13 in bagel terms.
I don't know if I've ever heard someone say that before.
It's fine. I mean, this is why Austin doesn't have bagels.
But I was wondering if you could just run through what made you make the decision to come to Austin around, I think it was like around 2011, because I was looking at your Instagram.
So I don't know. At one point, I was born. Thanks, Mom. I have a bit of a sheltered life, like within the church. Very grateful for how I was raised. Like you find people who don't step out of the church or be able to have a full view of the world, which I didn't. So you go to college and you start to see everything outside the small depiction of what you see a community to be. And it was too much. I was in pursuit of communications, advertising at the point. So I was working outside of DC, and just so quickly it was showcased that I'm not going to be able to make it in this world. So there was a very strong implication to move to Texas and serve in a life of farming, reassuring a relationship between human and nature, knowing the problems that we'll face in the near future, where we're at now. So it's now been over 12 years of trying to do what I can to, first and foremost, just learn from myself, and then trying to push that on to others of what they can do better to rectify a better relationship with maybe their food systems, or overall just what does this world mean to you rather than just what can I consume from.
Yeah. That's what a lot of Americans never, they don't have really a conception or maybe even a contemplation on that. It's more so just, I would say a good majority of Americans specifically are just consume.
America is just consumption.
Yeah.
And then you just have the thought process before, what is my next meal? What is my next drink?
Yeah. And I can say for myself, I was kind of caught up in that as well. And when you were in DC, what were you doing there that made you realize that things weren't going to work out for yourself, for your path?
Oof.
Are you from DC?
Yeah, no, Northern Virginia, DC.
Okay.
Let's see.
What were you doing? So did you do like some kind of career after you said you majored in communications? In that, did you do a career in that field in DC or?
Yeah, I was working in advertising.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Moved to Texas, in the hopes of just pursuing this love for the natural world. How can we create a better existence where we yield from our natural systems without taking too much?
Mm-hmm.
Because as we said, like, this is a land of consumption. This is the land to ensure that you have more than your neighbor.
Mm.
And yeah, kind of. I mean, for everyone. I mean, even for the person who's able to lock themselves away, like in their iron castle. I mean, I have to assume that it's not the best way of life to live. But for everyone who's on the outside, all the peasants, this sucks for us.
Mm.
No one ever wants to admit that we're not a part of that wealth and power. It never will be. What we used to do was pick up our pitchforks and our torches, or construct a guillotine. And I'm not saying I justify violence for change, but that's just what was previously done.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very short period of time of where we don't have that ability anymore to overthrow power with violence.
Mm.
And surprisingly, it's an easier method. We can overthrow power with our purchase point.
Mm-hmm.
We don't even have to stab anyone.
Mm.
You just choose who you give your money to.
Mm. Yeah, there's I think I mentioned to you briefly, I'm in the Bitcoin industry, and so I became pretty passionate about that because I think that the current monetary system, so I agree, like you should vote with your money, right? So for me, let's say Bitcoin aside, I'm willing to spend more money to get into to buy local rancher and farmer products here in Austin. So whether it's like a fourth of a cow from a local rancher, and then maybe getting certain raw milk and eggs that might be, $8 to $9 per dozen versus getting like $5.99 for 18 at Costco. And just being mindful of where I'm allocating my money in regards to where I'm consuming. So not even just the local ranchers or farmers, but also like just to support them, but also for my own health, like having integrity with knowing that relationship, shaking your rancher's hand, shaking your farmer's hand, and knowing that through your relationship with them, they have more integrity with, because it's their livelihood, right? Versus,
Sure. But so, yeah, let's get hot on that game. So then, it's, again, the idea of like big is bad. From at least from 3 years ago when I was in Montana, I found out that practically the largest provider of eggs to Costco was their Mennonite community. Like farmers who really cared about the product. So you can still get a good egg that came from the individual who cared. Because eggs is a weird one. I mean, it takes, let's see. I mean, I think like, I believe, and someone fact checked me and just yell at me. Have at it.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it takes 8.2 pounds of corn to like make 1 pound of beef. And then it takes like 1.6 pounds of corn to make 1 pound of chicken.
Mm.
So you start to understand like these metrics of bovine versus dinosaur, which is what a chicken is. And then for its egg and its ovulation rate, that's fun because like, again, like I don't have problems with vegans, but I do have problems with those who don't eat eggs because there's no reason. If I'm able to convert a waste product of my garden scraps and convert that into a ball of protein at 6 grams, please give me your reasoning of why that's not for human grade.
Mm.
So just on eggs, of if you want to get your best eggs for price point at scale, knocking them back, by all means, go to Costco. No, the difference is it is just local. That is the most important change you can make. When you support your neighbor, whatever their enterprise may be, then your currency is going to stay in that neighborhood. It may come back to you. when it does go to Costco and the Mennonites, as good as they are, you won't see it again. So then you brought up Bitcoin, of this idea of being able to create this financial sovereignty, a beautiful concept. And then what happens the moment that kids start to make their millies from Bitcoins? You're just catching them buying Lambos and looking like jackasses, like in front of the world. And then yeah, it's just the new path back into greed and a separation from what it was trying to become in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, I want to get more into regenerative agriculture and talk about your path, but in regards to, like, I can see what you're saying. Like, there is a subset or maybe an idea of the financial markets, so stocks and this superficiality towards investing, and there's a lot of disconnection between what's really of the most important value, right? And with Bitcoin, yeah, crypto and Bitcoin specifically, can still have this viewpoint of, you're Bitcoin or crypto rich, and maybe you're going to buy it on just houses or cars or whatever. But I think that through this decentralized cryptographic network that is run by nodes around the world, that has a finite supply that you don't need permission to ask for, that governments have been unable to stop at the current moment. It allows society to enter into the market freely, and it also ends, not right now, but over the course of time, it ends the government's, or specifically the Federal Reserve's, ability to consistently, for a long period of time, manipulate the currency. And so what I believe is that over time, when Bitcoin becomes more so the medium of exchange, the standard, we can preserve our value through, the value that we're exerting through our own energy, but then also through saving, with Bitcoin, you can preserve, like businesses, farmers, they can preserve their money in this finite asset that can't be controlled. So I mean, there's a lot you could get.
There's a lot to unpack. I understand.
Yeah. But I think that it can help specifically, not just farmers and small businesses, but just everybody around the world. And there's also like different countries that have been manipulated and under the control of the IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, which, So anyways, I think that when we were discussing, how we don't have as much power, I would agree, but then also say that we're at a turning point where I think Bitcoin, and I mean, Bitcoin's not going to solve everything. But I think it can be a helpful tool for individuals and entities and businesses to be able to utilize to preserve their value, vote with their money, and maybe restructure the market, the intersubjective market.
For sure. So, but again, like it can, but then we watch individuals who then gain this wealth, of which, like, it's wild. Where, like, you may have seen it, but it was 10 years ago or so, where there's like a World of Warcraft competition, and then first prize you get like $10,000. Second prize you get like this really cool like World of Warcraft hat. And then third prize, you get like 25 Bitcoin. Like, that's the shit prize.
How long ago was this?
Like 10 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So millions.
Yeah.
Millions of dollars.
It's worth millions of dollars now, for sure, yeah.
So that's awesome. The question is, what individual would have then inherited those millions of dollars, and then what do they do with it?
Yeah.
So each time this happens, it's sure big government and things suck, but now you as an individual, you have millions of dollars. What are you gonna do with it? And just too often I see someone act as a jackass because they put value into where they've been told there is value, and it's not. It's vacant of it. It's a vehicle or a house But yeah, it's not a home. It's not a community.
Right.
It's not something that's giving back to actually make a better world for you and everyone else amongst.
Yeah.
So that's where I get a little bit disassociated of like, give me a shot. Give me the money and things, and let's see how this is different. Because it seems like no matter what, just this eventual human greed takes over.
Mm-hmm.
And then the only way to chase that off is to develop a better relationship with nature, which calms you down.
Mm.
And that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to farm and put yourself into like carving from the earth to make your yield.
Mm.
So there's a shortcut, and it's called drugs. So that's what everyone turns to. And then they go to psychedelics.
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm not going to knock mushrooms or anything. But at the end of the day, I think you would have been better off just planting a tomato. Like, of which what people also say, like, I can't wait to garden, so I can grow my own food and save money. I'm like, wow, like you're an idiot. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me take that back. You're just, you're misinformed. We're like, you can't really even grow your own food. And anyone who says so is kind of just lying to you.
Do you mean like on a scalable level? Like,
I mean, like on any level.
Even like,
I mean, I've traveled the world to see like these sustainable systems, and I've come across less than a handful of people that are able to support the production of the caloric intake for their family.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what. Okay, because I was gonna say like I have family members that have gardens, but it's like cucumbers, tomatoes.
Exactly. And it's very fun because I think that like, what you learn from gardening is just how the world works and how much we are then meant to depend on these supply systems and what would be necessary to change them. So you grow your 4 tomato plants, your cucumber, a couple peppers. Pretty much you're rocking a salsa garden. Mm-hmm. And have that be your intake for the week of what you're able to yield from it. And you know what? Even chunk in like 6 birds, and you're pulling from their average ovulation rate from 5 to 7 eggs a week per. And like you're at a quarter. You're at a quarter of your caloric intake of what you've been able to provide from this small system. Mm-hmm. Because it's not supposed to depend on the individual. It's supposed to depend on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And when people want to go back to like hunter-gatherers, like why? Like we did it. It sucked. Like that's dumb. Why are we going backwards? We can make smarter systems where we pay farmers well to then take care of us. At least we don't do it anymore.
Yeah. So right now, I think it would be great for people that are listening understand. Maybe you can, if you feel called, to share the current conditions of the food system right now. I mean, we've talked about it, and I know it's a lengthy topic, but I think to explain it like I'm 5, or maybe like a somewhat general overview of what's at stake. Or so what are the current conditions of not even just the United States, but the entire world's food system?
No, we will just talk United States.
Okay, let's just talk United States.
And we can only know where we're at if we know where we came from. Where's camera? Which one? Is that me?
That's you.
That's me. Okay. So where America used to be was providing for ourselves prior to World War I and World War II. In order to feed the boys across the shore, we had to introduce preservatives and packaging that were allowed to them through their rations, their MREs, to be able to exist. After the war, we took those practices back with us for the first time ever to be able to package food. And I still will say the best way to love America is to travel to other countries, and you find out that America kind of does rock. The one place where we do fall apart is food. This is where we have to be able to improve ourselves. So since that moment of processed food, which was kind of the way of our parents, we're now in this weird new generation of where it's ultra processed. Mm-hmm. Again, another level of where I don't believe that our dietary intake has changed too much for the last like 20, 30 years. So why has obesity just doubled? Because they just snuck in more. Increased price points, which is why we were watching the highest corporate profit margins of all time. And then the human civilian just falling apart. So that's where we're at right now. That our tax dollars fund corporations to make food that poison our nation. And it's a double dip because those tax dollars are then in the future going to have to pay to treat their obesity and diabetes. It's very, very sad.
Yeah.
Like, I used to want to yell at it and then laugh. At this point, I don't know what to do. I kind of subscribe to absurdism where like laughing is probably the best thing you can do at any problem. By all means, try and structure your way to make change, but it's really difficult to get upset of what's happening around. So that's where we're at now. Ultra processed. Where I think the future gets us to, of where the highest investments going for food is cellular agriculture. So we're using kind of like giant brewery fermenters to create a pretty like efficient sludge of nutrient, and then we'll be able to artificially flavor it. And I think I won't drop like my favorite artificial flavoring companies that specialize in for that. But it's the idea that in the future you'll eat salmon, but it's spelled like SAMMON, and then it says like now with 40% more salmon flavor. And again without the animal, which is great, as we've seen how wild catch may be a problem. But then we have an entire separation between ourselves and the land, and that shit is Blade Runner every single time. Like there is a way to yield from the land correctly without punishing it. We haven't been able to find that balance.
Yeah, there's one ranch I think in Georgia. I'm trying to remember.
White Oak Pasture, Sam Harris.
Yes. I didn't listen to the entire episode, but he was on. I mean, he's been on a couple different podcasts.
But yeah, he was on Joe
Rogan. Do you think he's doing it right?
Yeah.
Do you think we can scale that?
So we have like 10 Playboy farmers for America. Like I won't even go like list them, but very much it stems from Joel Salatin and his Model E push from Polyface, and then several others who were like they were doing it. This was only popularized during COVID. Like being over here in the sauna for the first time after pursuing this line of work for 10 years, then for the first time ever, someone asked me, "What do you do?" And I'm like, I'm in regenerative agriculture. And there's like, regenerative agriculture rocks. I'd never heard that in my life. I was like, what? Like it's like nerd shit. Like I'm doing the work of the proletariat on the scale of hierarchy. I am loser. I'm the bottom. I'm farmer. So it was just very odd that post-COVID that there was this new turn where people actually started to respect like where their food came from.
Yeah.
It's not whether it's supposed to be scalable. It has to be replicated. Because the problem is otherwise you're looking at distribution. I don't care how many cows you have in Georgia, they're not supposed to ship to Washington State. Yeah. And then is Washington State supposed to have cows, or are they supposed to have hatcheries? Like these are complex systems. It is very difficult to figure out how to feed a global population which just added 1 billion mouths in the last 10 years. And at the end of the day, I don't think that like the population number is the issue. We've just decentralized our food production.
Well, we've centralized our food.
Yeah. Centralized. Whenever I just hear the term of either, it's just disappointing because this shouldn't be complex. Like we're one of the only nations that it's like, ooh, I'm gonna go to the farmer's market, as opposed to just going to market.
Yeah.
Of which, fun little trivia question: What's the first supermarket in the world?
I don't know.
Piggly Wiggly.
I don't think I've ever been.
God.
Is that in the United States? Piggly.
Yes, it's in the United States. There's people on the East Coast now that are losing their minds.
When was Piggly Wiggly founded? And is it like a farmer's market or is it?
No. And again, this is what translates from grocer to supermarket of Amazon model, Costco.
Okay.
Let me purchase at high scale so I can then elect my margin, serve a diversity of products of which but then also accomplish 8x the square footage of what you were used to of your neighborhood grocer.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a fun little deep dive of Piggly Wiggly that then they create their competition. He can't fold into it. Great Depression hits. That bankrupts his business. He separates and I'm biffing my history. But just let it be known that the birth of the supermarket is Piggly Wiggly of the southeast of America. And now it's all we know. And it's kind of gone backwards where in the reality of America, your grocery store is now your Dollar General. You don't, the vegetable that you are consuming on however many thousands of miles of where it had to be grown from, it's selected as a variety for its shelf life and its lack of nutrients, because that's what's going to be able to bring on a degradation to its shelf life, because it has to make its way from the field to the transference station for packaging to then be shipped out for that North American account. So it's just trash. It barely should even recognize as food because you don't have a local producer. And even in a place of like Austin, Texas, that you have Austin, you have San Francisco, and a few other cities of people who are like health minded to want to invest their dollar points. Then why is it at our farmers market that about 1/3 of it is producers, and then the other 2/3 would be more of your overall CPG brands of candles and dog food and whatever it might be. Because it's so difficult to be able to yield that price point within urban real estate without pure loyalty, knowing your folks are going to come through and keep your coffers going. I mean, there's a multitude of reasons that it's hard. For us specifically, being so equatorial, we're just boned right now. I mean, you gotta be fully hoop housed, with deep irrigation and kind of like a temperature controlled situation. The other best option of which I learned from Salatin's Polyface.
Who's that?
Joel Salatin at this point is pretty much the godfather farmer of modern America.
Okay.
So out of Swope, Virginia, and I had the privilege of going out there when Temple Grandin was present. So Temple, if Joel Salatin is the modern founder of American agriculture, Temple Grandin is the global god, the queen of animal husbandry, specifically when it comes to cattle and beef.
Of modern times?
Yeah, I mean, since this is a woman that changed the cattle industry in the 70s.
How so? How did she change?
At this point, 50% of all beef run in this world go through systems that she's created. Just on the design of how they're able to be seen, and seeing her speak was. There's only been 2 times where I've met someone and I was kind of like starstruck, and it was Temple Grandin and McConaughey.
McConaughey too.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Well, I was buying goat feed and he was there getting chickens for his daughter.
What?
because it was his daughter's chickens got killed the night before,
Uh,
and he had to replace them before she found out. But I mean, he has the right heart. Like
yeah.
he's a good boy. But even more so, when I met Temple, I was just flattened
Mm,
of how much she knew and how much she just bulldozed through the industry. And that may largely be due that she's severely autistic.
mm,
So I don't think she was able to process the emotion of fear or just like mentally understand how to take the answer of no. And it's just awesome. So, and oh man, when she was at peak, I think she was like 5'7", 180 of just hoss. Just of cattle game. And I mean, you're just tossing bales, binding your little heifers, and it is like, it's very special when you find a woman who set that up, a woman that's teaching men how to run game, because she was able to pay attention to things like from her perspective that the men never saw. So and I know that these were two extensions over, but to me these are my celebrities, these are my rock stars. And I still hope and I pray for one day that we care about our naturalists of seeing that these are the sexiest people on the planet.
Yeah, I didn't get as much time to, because I do like to do some extensive like overview and research of each guest, and I was able to look through some of your Instagram, and the other week I saw you did like the bat tour. It's pretty infamous here in Austin to do like a little tour sightseeing, to watch all the bats from under the bridge going across. I think it's Lady Bird Lake, or maybe it's
Well, we call it Town Lake.
Town Lake.
And it's fun too because we're gonna do. It's tough. I go down too many holes, but
Well, what I was just gonna say, just to
sorry,
comment-
sir.
Yeah, no, you're good.
We'll jump back.
I was gonna say is that the amount of passion that you have and genuine concern for nature and naturalists. So like you put on your story this gentleman that's doing a tour just to talk about the bats, right? And probably much more than I can. I mean, I'm just generalizing right now, but we need more people like that, in my opinion. And I saw like I've listened to you speak to what you do, and yeah, I also have found like that gentleman or whoever it was in the sauna just being pumped about regenerative agriculture. I'm also super pumped about making this maybe much more common and prominent within the United States. And so anyways, it's just you're a unique human being that has a lot of compassion for nature, is clearly showing through proof of work, like trying to stick your ground with this industry, with this practice in a world and time where it's very difficult. And I'm sure you can really describe why it's been so difficult. I mean, we've already been kind of talking about how, I mean, farmers aren't, it's not a profitable business to be a farmer. And so, yeah, I mean, just like your awe for this gentleman that was just like showing and describing the nature of these bats. I just I think it's great. I think we need more people like that.
yeah,
So.
and just so it's clear, the gentleman we were speaking of is Dr. Merlin Tuttle. So this is the world's leading expert on bats. I mean, he's been studying for 65 years. Yeah, I mean, every now and then you meet the individual who just has that love, and then I'm like, oh, like someone else, where it's complete renegade because your decisions are supported with zero report. Like, this is what I'm gonna be doing. I don't need you. I don't need you as a community. It'd be nice. It'd be nice to have support, but I've made this decision.
Falling over. See if you can adjust it just a tiny bit.
I'll start that one over.
So you don't necessarily need the community, but you've made this decision.
When you find the people who have chosen just to renegade through life of, I've chosen this direction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you. I don't need your support. I know this is my love and my passion, and I'm going.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful to see the commitment, but again, how much more popular would it be if we had the population, the community that actually valued that nature? And that's where we lack. Like, what does it have to take for folk to wake up? Because what I was saying for years, like, oh, we won't care until the world's on fire. But as of this last week, Hawaii was on fire. And as of right now, so is the Northwest Territories of Canada. So it's just very odd to see two regions that are typically not on fire, that are separated in massively different ecosystems. Both are just ablazed, and then still we just say, well, it's fine. I'm currently not on fire, so why would I even care? Like, what would it have to take? Like how much do you have to poison your water? How much do you have to see the lack of nature and enjoyment to be lost amongst you before you're saying we should be changing things? And then the further question is then how? Because we start to feel small when we see these problems that are happening all around the world. And I don't mean to come off as insensitive, but yes, you kind of do just have to block them out. And you have to start with your neighborhood, because then, and even the step before your neighborhood is just your front yard. If you live in an apartment complex, then you have to go a little bit bigger. Your 4x4 block, like where can you benefit nature? We have great tools and systems that'll point to afterwards to be able to share out where you can find volunteer opportunities, at least here in Austin, Texas. And like, again, like for everyone else who may be outside that, you got Google. What you have to have is the intent. You just show up, like you try and figure out who needs help. And then you put it in. And we are able to service ourselves through our food banks and our homeless initiatives. But the other one is just nature as much as possible. And when you've completely satisfied like your neighborhood, then maybe step to your county or your city. And then that's done, your state, your nation, your world. But just find some place to start small. Otherwise, it can be overwhelming, and I think that's where we currently are at.
Yeah, and I haven't participated in it quite yet. Here in Austin, because one question that came to me was like, how could I help? I live in an apartment complex and whatnot, and I've seen you do it multiple times. Like we came back from a squash ruck. This didn't involve us picking up trash, but there has been multiple moments where you and Jason and others get in some kayaks, I believe, or just walk around Town Lake and just pick up different just trash, because like the lake is trashed every other month or even more frequently. And so I agree. I think that there's a lot of resources to be able to use, like Google, to find different ways to contribute to helping nature. And it is kind of wild to comment on, like, what is it going to have to take? Like you were saying, like the world being on fire, but also like over half of the American population being obese and having diabetes and different, cardiovascular issues. Like we're like, that's occurring, but we're gaslit to think that it's not our food.
Well, and for the record, no, over the majority is overweight. By 2030 is when the majority of America will be clinically obese.
And that's just like a wild perspective. And I mean, I do see different, like I think I told you, or maybe it was my buddy Dave on the ruck hike today, that I've spoken with Harry from the Meat Mafia guys, and so they're creating their own product right now called Noble, but they are mainly focused on podcasting in the regenerative, not just regenerative agriculture, but it's a combination of things, and so they're putting out a lot of social media to make people more aware of these facts, right? And but it's wild. It's wild that we've gotten to this point and people haven't really been questioning our food system or our money system or other aspects of, maybe this conglomeration of powerful corporations. And I think that time is now, to be honest, because I'm not obviously as knowledgeable as you, but I have taken notice to these these ailments within human beings, but also within our nature. And I see more and more people taking notice to that and using social. So one quick example, there are more, whether you want to call them social media influencers or just social media accounts on Instagram. What they do is they go into supermarkets. It's kind of like a Paul Saladino case, but there's also others that go into supermarkets. They'll look at these products and they'll point out all the bullshit in these ingredients. And some of these accounts have millions of followers. And I've seen multiple examples of this. And so when you have this growing impact of people using social media to show these different things, I think that it will drive the market. It will drive the market perception, and I do have hope. And I know that from your perspective, you're deep in it, and this could be a very naive perspective, but I see it from maybe a more general view, but I do see these different things. And I know how, like I said, I'm not totally immersed into it, but I do see these various examples that can help with bringing more and more and more awareness, and maybe that will drive forces of the market. And like I said, I mean, we don't have to talk about. I don't want to make this a Bitcoin episode, but I do, because of I have a more specific knowledge with Bitcoin. I think that because of this alternative currency compared to the U.S. dollar and fiat currencies, us as a citizen, as an individual, as a businesses in smaller communities can start to take back power in regards to our autonomy with our decisions, in regards to our food, in regards to other things. So just wanted to make that comment. And but yeah, I think it's going to take a lot of I know you said you don't necessarily need the help, but I in a way I think we do need the community and a good majority of the population to start to understand, to maybe gain some information, to gain some knowledge, so that they want to make changes in their life. And you see people that come to Squatch and they might have gone through these ailments. They're eating seed oils, they're eating all these different bullshit ingredients, and making changes with their diet. Like we just incorporated here at Squatch, like a raw milk product from a local rancher. So anyways, I do think things could massively change, hopefully in the right direction in the future, but I'm not sure what you're seeing, what, cause you're totally immersed into it.
Tight. We'll catch halftime. Let me switch can.
Yeah.
And then, and I don't like this, but to where we'll step back into huge change. How?
Yeah. Cool.
So I see, for me, it's two paths of direction that I keep hoping come together. Of yes, regenerative agriculture, which in basis terms means while you yield from the earth, you are able to prove that you're improving it. And there are metrics to be able to see that through your organic matter input, as well as your water infiltration rate, your biodiversity testing of the species that are coming through. That there are metrics that prove like you're doing it right. We used to call it farming, but now it's become so absolutely destructive, and it's not. Again, our agriculture in America is even to grow food for human consumption. Like that's how far whacked off it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one. But let's say yes, let's rest and retire this land Let's let nature repair itself. And it doesn't. Like we killed off the buffalo. We exterminated the wolf. We've removed these natural systems that allow for the earth's health. So once again, we have to step back in to repair our own destruction. And then that would be ecosystem restoration. So both of these in unison together would be in the most perfect manner possible, because kind of only in that field until 5 years from now, until the next farm bill, will we see any chance of funding necessary to see the viable change made. So what can we do now? The most important thing you can do as an individual is ensure that your dollars are staying within your community. You do have a local farmer. You do have a local rancher. Are they able to satisfy all of your caloric needs? No. And are you able to make it to where your financial budget now increases 40% to support a non-conventional product? Like, you don't. So just dabble. Like, if everyone just had that piece, like if we did see more traffic to the farmers market, that each of our producers were selling out like every Saturday before noon, so tight. But no, you show up and they just have, they're all gonna have the same thing. Like you'll have your carrots that are in season, your tomatoes, whatever, and then you have some that clear, but not enough. Like, this is supposed to be our community. This is supposed to be what we represent for Austin. We should be able to make the example the rest of the nation is supposed to follow. To me, that's the most simple concept that you can provide. And yeah, high likelihood you don't care. You care about being able to get your macros in so you can catch your pump. And this is about you. It's awesome. Like, that's fine. I'm not trying to shun that. So even then first step, just try and plant that first tomato. Like, you live in an apartment, you can still do a couple containers. It's not to feed yourself. It's just to understand. And then, like, all right, the birds came and ate your tomatoes. Awesome. You fed birds then. I don't know what to tell you. Like you did something. Like you furthered your relationship to be closer with nature. And guess what? You didn't even have to take ayahuasca. You grew a tomato or you went bird watching. You did some like Boy Scout thing.
Oh, shit.
It's just the simple understanding that for the previous generations, we've seen the destruction of large land-based mammalian species. So for Africa, it would have been the elephant. For America, it would have been the buffalo. For the next generation, we're going to see the extermination of large oceanic-based mammalian species. We're going to watch our porpoises and whales like just extinct. There's a high likelihood in the next 10 years that we'll see the Atlantic jet stream pull out of the Gulf of Mexico. The water temperatures will rise too much, and we're just going to watch it collapse. Already as is, the water in the Gulf is too warm to support the sea turtle population. So in utero at fertilization, all the eggs, 99% of the eggs are hatching as female, which is terrible. I mean, you do have to imagine how fun it is for those few dude turtles. Like, sorry. I just like, you got to imagine if Pixar could come out and just make a movie about like the 6 turtles are like, all right, this is my job. I got to get to work.
Yeah.
And again, just find out how to laugh things, but sorry.
Don't apologize. It's what makes the conversation.
It's very difficult. So you look to these signs that nature's out there. I mean, currently, if you're looking for a sign, like you go out in Central Texas, and you look at a tree between 2 and 6 p.m. and it goes, ah, like everything's screaming. It's thirsty. It's all dying. It's a painful time. But specifically for our waterways, we were just watching them fall apart. The closer you pay attention to these systems, the more you begin to care, the more you vote with your dollar, because that's kind of all you have control of. So it doesn't have to be all of your meals. It just, you can pay $50 at a local nursery for your soil, your container, your plants. Like, just figure out how to build the relationship that we are losing so quickly.
Yeah, and I, just to like give my own example, because I have the resources here in Austin. I was just telling Jason and a couple guys on the ruck that I just re-upped my beef. So I've done this maybe 3 to 4, maybe 5 times.
And you're buying in big for beef?
Yeah.
You say quarter cow?
Quarter of a cow.
Tight.
And I'm doing that, and it averages around under $8 per pound. And I'm getting all different types. So I'm getting different types of cuts.
Is that with organ as well?
I can ask for that, but not always. And so I'm getting like over 50, 60, 70 pounds of ground beef, and then just all the various like lean cuts and short ribs and yeah, that averages, I'm getting that. So I'm actually paying my rancher in Bitcoin. He prefers it. And then it is a local Austin. It's K&C cattle.
Yep.
And so that comes out to, I did the math, I believe it's just under $8 per pound at cost there for me. And I also get Shirttail Creek eggs. I'm totally fine with, I like their eggs. And then I'll get various vegetables at the farmer's market. And so like here in Austin, for me, I find it very doable. I find it very easy to do this. It took a little bit for me to understand my surroundings when I first moved here, but to buy that quarter, just get a chest freezer, buy a quarter of a cow. That, I'm single, don't have kids, lasts me 5 to 6 months. I eat a lot of meat. I'm cool with being boring right now. But it feels good. Like I feel healthy personally.
Yeah, it's awesome.
But then also like I'm like I text my rancher, like, which just,
it's very cute.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's very cute. We send
emojis,
love notes and emojis.
Awesome.
But that's just all to say that it's very possible. It's very possible.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, I'm not that good to my body, so like, I'm a terrible baseline for having to beat. So when I look at the rest of the world and what's going on with them, like, what's happening? Like, what are you doing, bud? And then
yeah. Well, they're eating just absolute junk, like shit, like it's not even real food. And I mean, we've already kind of discussed this, but they're taking in high fructose corn syrup, but massive amounts of sugar and massive artificial, like just amounts of artificial ingredients, and yeah.
So yeah, where I struggle, because again, so to support local. Previously, this meant to like eat at local restaurants, which
I don't even like to do that anymore.
I can't support eating out.
Like I went to Ziki the other day because I didn't pack a lunch, right? And I've been doing that because they market that they don't do
seed oils and
the
such.
Industrialized seed oils, and so I'm like, all right, I'm fine with this. But overall, I have established subconsciously that the majority of restaurants in America, but also not like just specifically in Austin, unless you're going to like a steakhouse, they're gonna have the industrialized seed oils. They're gonna have potentially like low quality vegetables that were sprayed with glyphosate, and they're gonna have meat that, the cows or whatever animals are potentially eating certain foods like corn that has pesticides, and like that's where my subconscious is right now with like when it comes to eating locally in restaurants. But I do understand what you're saying, like eat locally, but what do you do as a consumer when all those restaurants are taking in like low cost foods?
Well, because I think this is what's tough. I have a lot of friends in the service industry.
I used to be as well, so I can empathize.
And to where it's like it's difficult to say, don't go out, but I'm saying don't go out. And it sucks because then they're like, what about us? I'm like, well, then you got to convince everyone who, I mean, it's not that hard right now, because the fun conversation is like, to to really put together your meal at McDonald's, like apparently it's now coming up to like $18, right? Like $15, $18.
Yeah, it's still expensive. Yeah.
Whereas again, the person's like, you mean it's gonna cost me this much for the fries, the soda, the McFlurry, and they're just listening. I'm like, again, like, what are you doing? But yeah, I came up to that much. So if we kind of then go to the next level where to eat out, it is the treat because you have to choose one kind of your 10 restaurants in Austin that are doing things well. You do pay for it, but I mean,
it's worth it.
There's several I'm able to support, but the network that I know, I mean, the Odd Duck, Sour Duck, Barley Swain family group is pushing themselves forward to like the best thing they can with food, and with a reasonable price. Like you can find that. But Austin is very much that let's go out market where it needs to be let's cook together. Like let's spend the time to go to the market, to the rancher, each farmer. You spend the time like pulling those ingredients together. Well, I mean, it's the day. Like you're now the restaurant. Like I'm not good at this. I guess I need to make friends first to invite to dinner. And then like, yeah, maybe it's healthier place or it's at a park. There is a word in the dictionary that's called like a picnic. We got things called tables. Like we could put this together if we wanted to where like we eat healthy. And like, yeah, someone show up and spank me when I say, and when you are eating healthy, it ain't crazy to bring on like a good bottle of wine or whatever bevy that's rocking in town. Because like it's that city of all the ingredients you've put together, and then you as the host has created like, this dish for everyone amongst it. Like that's so tight.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's not something we see too much anymore because it is a sacrifice for that day. Guess what? You don't have to do it next week. That's the fellow down the line.
Do it once per year.
I'm saying if you run your circuit, and right now it does suck. I mean, I got a few tables I know that are pure shade and you can run it. But this is what teaches you to eat seasonally. And like, yeah, what is always in season? Cow. Like meat's tight. Like I'm gonna have a very hard time switching over to a complete plant-based diet. It can be done. It can be done, but that is a pure dependency on fermentation. Unless you're able to turn that legume into opening its cellular program to be used for our digestion, it is a long period of where we just spoke about the difficulty of being able to feed individuals. That one day affair has now turned into a week affair of making sure you've introduced your mixed culture to ferment it, to unlock the nutrients for our consumption. You can go as far as you want for this, but then that's what to me it's just like super cute. Of that's what food used to be. So and we're maybe a lot of people listening are all guilty for this. It's like, nah, bro, I just eat ground beef. Like, awesome. And I'm sure you're great at parties. Because, yeah, I mean, like, you're eating for yourself. Like, I know you put your salt on it and your gains are super hot, I'm sure. But, like, you're really missing out on a lot of what life can provide. And even if it was just once a week, your cheat day is when you've decided to then feed others. That's what I know that we're able to provide that does not take the financial investment. Like, and again, you can do it with the Bitcoin. You can do it with the Venmo. You can do it with bartering, whatever it might be. But you create this new institution where we care about food and where it came from. Because if we do not,
what if you were able to put together certain like festivities like this that collaborated a bunch of different local ranchers, and you hosted events for like almost like a ranch picnic table type of event where people pay extra for organic and like the community and whatnot? What if you could blast that on socials, make the organization of...
Because it's just best to do for 8 to 12 people.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to grow something out, but then it's gonna be my flavor, and
yeah.
That means there's beers and ping pong and metal
Well, for you specifically, that's what you want?
Well, no, I'm saying everyone who steps in, this is not what you get. I'm not going to cater to your needs. Like if you, in order to attract a larger audience, you have to cater their needs. I'm not going to.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
So if this is my world, it's just.
You could still do that.
Oh yeah, for sure. It'd be awesome. But it'll still be best for 8 to 12 people.
Yeah.
Like the point is to not grow it out. I want to see these little corners activated throughout the whole city. I don't want it to be big. I want it to be like just your little community. The tribe does not have to grow. There's times where we can come like to church and communion together in a larger group. But right now to start it, there's a group of friends that you're able to invite out for the dinner you prepared. And then you hope that you're able to pass it on. And then from that, you just budget out $120. That's what you got. And you go around everywhere, and that only gets you X amount of meat. So about to introduce you something spooky we have to eat. A vegetable. So I don't know how many carnivore kids are on here, but it's fun. Vegetables can be fun, especially when you drop down to Boggy Creek, House Bar, or to whatever the SFC farmer market is that works on your day. Go meet your producer. And even if it is a vegan, he's still going to love the land just as much as the rancher. They just happen to have a different perspective, but they still have the same passion. They still have the same love. And we've got to the point where we've separated each other, and it's very sad. I would love to break bread with each of these individuals. And then you just say no, I don't want to eat cow. Awesome. Because even as of right now, we have just opened up in Texas our first vegetable production that's 100% without animal fertilizers. So that's going to be out in Temple, Killeen, Sage. I forget the name. I'm gonna have to get this real quick because it is.
Yeah.
Give me a hot second.
Yeah. This is so without animal fertilizer.
Without animal fertilizer.
What does that even? I don't even know if I know. What what is in? Yeah, chunks of cow.
I mean, shit. Just shit. The way. I'll hit it. Come on now. Because these suckers are big. Revel, that's it.
Sage Revel?
No. Sage is the production manager who's setting it up. Get it in a hot second. Here we go. Revel, yeah.
Okay.
Until very recently, we now have vegetable production in Texas that is 100% plant-based fertilizer. So farming is simply the input of organic material. And this is processed either through your composting, which is super tight, where you mow your grass, you take all your clippings back, and now you have your greens you have to mix with browns, always balancing your nitrogen, and you work at this over time. And you can do it fully with plants to create the nutrients necessary to go in to grow your more plants. Yeah, or you can have goats or a cow, and they just eat and shit. And then specifically if it's goat, it's gone through their 10.5-hour digestive, and you can direct apply goat, rabbit, and alpaca. You can direct apply to food grade crop under FDA regulation. So for cattle, it's all bovine, fowl, everything. It has to go into further steps, but it creates a such more efficient system to develop that fertilizer, which goes back in. We now have a hydroponic grow up, Revel Greens outside Temple, Killeen, who is complete turnkey, producing veg from veg fertilizer, which is tight. Go vegans. Woo. But up to this point, it's been a full relationship of the animals you keep on your property that consume the biomass to create the fertilizer that you turn back into soil to yield for you your crop. And then sure, kill and eat your cow. You're down a coworker. You're down a very central part to where potentially it is a poor way to look at a system or your relationship with your animals, where their goal is just to breed out as highest numbers as possible, to convert the grass on your property into beef poundage, and then beef poundage into cash, which lines your pocket. Like, I don't like that. And that's kind of the difference for regen ag.
Yeah.
Is you have the individual who's not just trying to make money. They're using these animals to heal land. And then like people would ask, well, what's the difference between a cow that grazes land or a lawnmower? Lawnmowers don't take shit. Like, I don't know how to explain this
I
to
also
you.
think like if you were to, I can actually put it in the show notes too, but if you were to look at like Food Inc. or Fast Food Nation, so Food Inc. is a documentary and a book,
Seen them all.
and Fast Food Nation is a book that I read, and you can see the difference between the factory farming that's going on there, but then watch or listen to Joe Rogan's interview with
Sammy.
What's his last name?
Sam Harris.
Sam Harris, not the conscious meditator.
Wait, did I biff this? All right.
Is it Sam Harris?
There's
Georgia. So what's the name of the ranch again?
White Oak Pastures.
White Oak Pastures. You might be right. I gotta remember that too. But I can definitely put it in the show notes. But if you were to watch both of those, yeah, let's see. Will Harris.
Will Harris.
Will
'Cause
Harris.
it's tough.
The owner of White. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oak Pastures.
When you bring
Will
up Joe Rogan, they've both been on it. So
Yeah.
we'll edit all in.
no,
Will Harris.
Yeah. And
Sorry, Will.
but if you were to just listen to him speak, right, and then you watch read Fast Food Nation or watch the Food Inc. documentary and see the factory farming versus how he's kind of just in harmony with the biodiversity of the biome of his pastures, like there's a stark difference,
So
right?
it's a very hard conversation because then you have to talk about death, and then everyone needs to recognize is like death is just ubiquitous with life.
Mhm.
Like we all die. We avoid talking about this so we can ignore it, but it's really important to understand where the animal dies. Because of laws, it's very difficult to have your processing facilities on site or an abattoir. And this is what forces our distribution network. So typically, like in Texas, what it looks like for conventional beef, the cow is still going to be on grass. Like yourself as a rancher, which is typically raising anywhere between 40 and 80 head, that's your average for the state, you're not wanting to bring on adjunct feed. I mean, guess what? This is the hottest summer ever on record in Texas.
Yep.
A lot of folks are have to.
Yep.
And then it just means you made zero money this year. Like you just weren't able to, unless you range your property appropriately. But it's supposed to be at 18 months to 2 years, you then sell off your tagged cow to a holding facility, which is then going to try and put on as much corn weight with them over the course of like a 90-day period. So you drive in with cow, and then your trailer is then measured for its overall weight. And then when you drive back empty, they'll know how much pound of cow you dropped off. Now it's their goal to then scale up that weight on corn in a CAFO, concentrated animal factory operation, to just send it. Increase hanging weight by like 40% in 90 days.
And then like all of that corn is probably potentially,
it's not human grade food.
yeah. It's
It actually had like everything that's been applied to that corn for the most part has skull and crossbones on it. So that is a bummer. Burgers still taste good. So that's what you're going against. But when it is like the taste of regenerative versus conventional, that's not the selling point. The selling point is seeing the relationship between that person and knowing they're using that animal to repurpose what the bison once accomplished, and needing them on that property for the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully that they are exterminated on site. You can't really have a mobile processing lab. You need a brick and mortar facility, because there's no way to then be able to then watch your poundage be processed within the hour to where it's financially viable at that rate. So like we with KNC cattle, that's who's been a large proponent of seeing we have more of these facilities. And in order to watch growth, then we have to have the consumers that step up from the backside. And again, it's just like, why? Because is it because this tastes better? Is it because it's
not even that for me. It's not, I mean, at least for me, but for.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, to bring it up. Yeah, that's it. Why do we buy this? Is it because it tastes better? Does it have a higher nutrient density? No, because it's the individual who's taking care of land. They're healing land.
Yeah.
And so far, what I've not been able to see people do is heal land without animals. Like, you're going to have a very hard time rectifying land that's been desertified to where it holds no water, it gives no life. And then if you take away these large ranging stock herds, then what do you expect to do? Like, you just go and throw out broccoli seeds? Or you just hope that the earth takes care of itself? It's just ignorant. We have the relationship with the animal who has to be set back in for this purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So when you meet the ranchers who are able to then show you before and after, to me, that's God's work.
Mm-hmm.
That fella really deserves the buck. Like, he won. And maybe, yes, he's not able to satisfy your complete protein intake, but it's still up to you for someone who says that they care about nature, their body, what's happening around their community. Just once a month, drop into these producers. Because like if you were able to increase the loyalty rate from our, what are we at? Like 1.2 million for Austin?
For what?
Our population?
That sounds somewhat accurate. I'm not entirely sure though.
Yeah, I really put out a number right there, didn't I?
Well, back in like 2021 or 2022, I know Joe Rogan was saying, or other people were saying, like, it's less than 1 million or close to 1 million. So we're probably getting there. We're probably getting to like 1.2. I think that's a good estimate.
So yeah, when we solve these problems together and within our food systems, just once a month, find yourself at the market. And I don't know, if you're carnivore diet, go and buy a vegetable. And then if you're vegan, I'm not telling you to buy meat. I'm just asking you to talk to the feller.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, it's very nice to find the person who loves their animals. I've only taken animals to slaughter on a few occasions, and I'm going to cry every time. And sure, baby, I'm too soft for the game. I don't care. Like, that's my expression. When you're very quickly when you're breaking down the animal, then you can see that the life has left, and it is now a commodity. It's nutrient for us. But yeah, I mean, being there at the time of the death and watching it leave, I'm gonna cry every time.
Mm.
I mean, same thing. I mean, I'll hunt, and yeah, I'm probably gonna cry every time,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll put down tobacco. I don't know. There should be no point it's looked down upon to have that expression.
No, not at all. Not at all. I think it shows a genuine concern for our environment and our planet, and for the integrity of these animals living as naturally as they possibly can. But yeah, we have, it is a unfortunate aspect that we have commoditized everything. I mean, the fact that we want to like create food as an intellectual property, which I've heard from some podcast or a clip from the Meat Mafia guys, how they're just trying to make just different types of plants and whatnot, an intellectual property where they can claim it, kind of like Monsanto. I mean, I don't want to get into Monsanto, but
we don't have to, but yeah, it's difficult to kill things that have eyeballs that look like us. So that's kind of where like you always see the billboard, like it's like, where do we draw the line?
Yeah.
But the line like kind of looks right before it gets into dogs and such. When you have your choice of for the majority, not all, because I'm seeing like pretty neat harvesting methods for small scale for plant-based meat production. Like, there's no way you should ever make that into an enemy. You just look at these massive combines that are coming through, though, at a certain scale. Everything in front of it's going to be death when you run a thresher through. Like your little rabbits and snakes and your creepy crawlies, the birds they're nesting, everything.
You mean to create the plant-based meat?
Yeah. Not to mention, I mean, it goes back to a legume that we can't fully consume. So here's fun goat tip. I had some Hawaiian goat farmers at my first property, and then they were like pretty perplexed of how I was able to train up my first herd just to be shepherded. I could call them by name and move them around. So then they let me in on their goat secret. And I mean, this will be fun for everyone to be able to experiment. When you make cheese, you introduce a rennet to be able to then separate your curds away from your whey. So then your whey is your byproduct, and that's why a byproduct of the dairy industry is then able to get sent over to kind of like call it trash protein powder. And that dehydration brings on the product of milk that was done from cows. Because we were talking about previously about meat cows. Dairy pretty much across the game is garbage. It has to be on such a large scale value, of which we saw during COVID, where there were just millions of gallons of milk being poured down the drain every single day because the cow has to be milked. Otherwise her tits are going to explode. And that sucks. I mean, the fact that we used to have multi-storied pig factories for pig processing. And we can't anymore. They can't climb upstairs. Like, I do put it to people who eat meat to learn more about what it looks like. It sucks. And if you can't buy of that local, I'm not going to shame you for having to buy the conventional. But yes, if you cannot buy at the best level, then it is nice to then lean back on to veg and these legume. But specifically for legume-based protein, when we soak it, that's to be able to kind of break down the cellular wall to where we can have the full protein intake. Otherwise, and this is why like beans give you gas, because it's the seed. Its whole entire purpose is try to make it through your gastric system so it can be exited and planted and then grow again. This is how it transfers. Same for fruit and tree nut to be moved by squirrel or bird for the spread of its genetics. In order to be able to receive the full protein intake of that legume, you want to introduce your bacteria to replicate the gastric system of these ruminants. So these Hawaiian goat farmers, as they were making their cheese, they started to soak their beans in the whey. And they found out they had to eat one third of their rice and bean serving to be full. So like, to me, that's really cool to where like we can move forward. And yeah, if you are on a small scale system, you can't depend on your cow slaughter. Like it's a privilege to take an animal's life for you to be able to hit your pro intake so you can be muscular and cute. And I mean, I'll say this right now. I'm very much trying to be muscular and cute.
Same.
And I hope that someone will be like, we'll give you money. Here's a job, nice abs. So far not going well. But every meat eater should develop a better relationship of what the true game looks like. And the flip side of the foraging, of the plant world. Like, there's never a time where I think it's correct to go full carnivore. That's just insane to me. Because it's a system. If you're just eating that animal, then you're not taking advantage of being able to get not an advantage. It almost seems like you're poppycocking around, not wanting to go pick up their shit, work it in the land, grow out whatever other crop that's able to work with it.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, it could be what I'm seeing at least is a dogmatic ideology on food. I mean, it's definitely like I eat mainly meat-based foods, but I'm willing to eat vegetables. I'm willing to eat.
That's all I'm asking for. Like this is a really like simple place where I'm like, you can meet me in the middle. To just some onions and peppers in there. Who knows? Maybe it comes on top of leaves.
Mm-hmm.
But no, there is no way that an entire carnivore diet can work for the global species. So then why should it work for you?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. You don't have to solely eat meat to obtain, just to be energized. And there is a trend that's going on that, at least as of late, yeah, there's a trend to just only eat meat and dairy. But I think it's just I think it's just a matter of not being dogmatic, just like listening to your body, and then
I mean, to me, I think it might just be a matter of needing a hug, like because the person who I'm like, you can't just eat meat, they're like, whoa, and they'd freak out. I'm like, all right, what about the guy who only eats vegetables? They're also an idiot. So okay, again, back to it. I'm sure you're great at parties, where it's like, there's gotta be a place of balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we've got like 20 minutes left, and I wanted to harp on something that we talked about off the mic, but also we brought it here with our environment. So you spoke to some of the water in the Gulf being too warm for sea turtles, and we're seeing fires in Maui right now that are pretty horrendous, and Canada, and there's certain people or a circle of a demographic that I know that is slightly averse and skeptical to narratives of climate change, right? They're not totally dismissing it, but to like an absolute, but they do understand there is somewhat of a manipulation towards an ESG narrative where that could spiral into social credit score, but it's really a carbon credit score. And anyways, like there's potentially manipulation by politics and optics to take advantage of what's actually really happened, really going on. And so I would love to hear your perspective on that.
Cool. So just break it down. ESG, environmental social governance score.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't even know like when it pops up. I don't know when it's year of kind of like where it's crafted. But it's weird when, again, this a little bit like this is the best example I have. When people are like, why did Bud Light run campaigns for trans rights? It's for an ESG score.
Mm.
It's still a very, like, you would say, smart corporation. Like, that's how they're pushing themselves forward. That score does give you tax breaks. So it's wild to see yourself then make that decision. Currently, folks are being forced in to improve this ESG score through whatever it might be of renewable energy or CO2 capture. And that is the right direction we're supposed to be headed in. The problem is, again, the execution. And I don't know how we would have been able to go about it otherwise, because the previous notion was prior to its rebranding, excuse me, climate change was recognized as global warming.
Mm-hmm.
And people just said like global warming is not real. Now we're at the point of saying, oh, well, climate change is real. The climate changes. It's just what is the level of which humans are an impact on it, which still shouldn't have been the question.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, what is the advanced acceleration that we've seen that things do not feel like this? Like, especially from a conservative audience in reality, when I walk outside, I'm like, no, it did not feel like this years ago. Well, when I look at the skyline and just see these grays and like these weird sepia tones, I'm like, that's not natural. It's not okay. Whether you believed it was human based or just this is what naturally happens, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth are we still debating? How are we not able to determine that we are watching life just kind of collapse around us? Whereas again, like now we have to trust science, and then someone's like, "So what?" But when it's just trying to be stated from these institutions that yes, globally we are watching a dropout of 2.5% of the insect population every year. I apologize. I don't have the year of when this study has been founded, but I very much believe it. You go out and even this year specifically because of drought, we don't have mosquitoes, and people say, "Ooh," but that's what feeds our birds, and that's how it works. We lose our plant life, we lose our insect, and then it starts to move into mammalian.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is our life.
Yeah,
I don't believe we have good news for the next 20 to 30 years. And I just hope that there is kind of something catastrophic enough that pushes for global change.
I'd like to just push back a little bit too. There's two things that come to mind. So some people argue like, we had the ice age, right? So we had a massive change in our climate and environment long ago before we were a highly advanced, technologically speaking, human society. So I'm curious how you how you see that, and like maybe our planet has been significantly changing within our environment, and how do you explain to people that are climate deniers or just really just kind of arrogant with that subject?
So we previously have seen very extreme climate patterns on this planet. We had the ice age. We then, even in more recent terms, have a mini ice age. Even in that mini ice age, this is brought on over like 100 to 400 years of change. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a climate scientist. I'm someone who walks out in the woods and I'm like, no, this doesn't feel right. But when I listen to these climate scientists and with the best data we have, it's just the, oh, come on. And you help me out when we'll cut. What is it when you drill in to the ice? There's a terminology for when you pull out.
Extract, like extraction.
Yeah, I know. We would
like the extraction of.
Okay, I got this. Within trees, well, when you fell it and you count the rings, the one thing that's cute is when we talk about the apocalypse, let's talk about cute things in the apocalypse. You can tell the years of your cicadas of the 7 and the 17-year pattern. They'll have larger trunk rings because that was a time of growth, where the 7-year being the small and the 17-year return of the cicada, that's the year the forest eats because these winged little suckers that come out. I mean, the birds, the lizards are going after it, and then the foxes get in. I don't know, like everything's eating sex and shit, and it all goes back in the soil, and that tree had a good year. So you can see it. You can see it in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the history of life throughout that tree's growth of what happened. Like, when was the drought? When was the time of nutrient? We can see the same in the ice caps of the freezing and the melting. Like, it is the data. It is the fingerprint of this world.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a scientist who presents it, and then everyone just says, boo. Like, why does this happen? I don't know. Maybe because we discredited education in America 40 years ago. And we kind of just suck now there. Like, we still ride horses awesome. Like, we make the best metal in the world. Our movies rock. I love America when it comes to that. But man, we got real dumb. Like, we're not really that smart anymore. And that's unfortunate. That's something that should be and smart outside the joke, like, to really be able to dance around the opinions you have, to listen to someone and express in a place of conversation and rhetoric. Like, who has the level of expertise to judge in this situation? And then someone's like, well, I've been studying the polar ice caps for 26 years. And then someone else like, sound pretty gay. and then they're like, focus, like, trust me, I went outside, I looked at the ocean, didn't look to be going down to me. And then they win. Like, they win the argument. That they release a couple bald eagles. You'll win. Like, to work within science, it's very difficult. And trust me, I'd rather be bald eagle boy. Like, that's way more fun. But yes, everything points to there are 20 years ahead of us that are very, very bad. What are we able to do about it now? Like, honestly, nothing. I want people to like we never even got to the acceptance phase, and we're gonna have to blast past that. Well, I'm just asking people to be resilient. Like, I do not think that things are going to be solid. Rather than food, I don't worry about. We can eat out of dumpsters. We throw half of all of our food away. We will be able to get through with our caloric expenditure. The majority, it's very sad about it. The majority of these people in this nation could actually just not eat food for 30 days and they would not die. That's insane. The rest of us, we will get through. We do not have to worry about food. We have to worry about water. And I don't give a damn about your shorter showers. It's just, where is your supply? We've watched twice now in Austin, Texas, of people collapsing when within 48 hours their needs are not able to be met. And that's embarrassing. Like, you have to be able to take care of yourself. What is your water supply that you have in the closet? When something hits, do you know to fill up your bathtub? I mean, just simple things that shows against the resilience of yourself and the community around you. And right now, garbage. We are not prepared for anything to go wrong. And that's when things get very stabby.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And we were made aware of that during COVID. You know, like how we were not resilient in my view.
And COVID was just supply chain.
Yeah.
Each time a freeze happens or Hornsby Bend goes down for the wastewater treatment facility. And then within 24 to 48 hours, people are like, I don't know what to do. And you depend on your higher government, what you're supposed to, but not within 5 days. You are supposed to be resilient enough for 5 days. You even in that period, you don't even need food or water. Just take a nap. Like, just hang out for 5 days. If that was your case, you're being passive, be smarter than you just freaking out. But yeah, that's it. Unfortunately, at this point, there's going to be nothing. If we were to cease carbon expenditure today, CO2 just through magic, Gandalf shows off. He does something with a wand staff sucker, and then CO2 just goes poof. We don't even have to worry about it. Does not matter. For the next 25 years, we will still see in the cycle that's now input. Like, there's nothing we can do to create a change. We now have to weather this one out. So, as much as I want people to have hope for the future and their community of which they can make, globally, we're already on this roller coaster. The most important thing you can do is be resilient. I don't want you to be a prepper. That's dumb.
Okay.
Because I've seen how far it goes, of how many exit routes you have to have, where you station your fuel deposits to make sure you have a north and south route. Just sucks.
You don't think prepping is...
Well, just like, yeah, no, I mean...
To a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, get a bunch of guns and get ammunition and then have the machine to be able to press your own casings And it's just too far. It's not fun anymore.
Yeah, maybe to like a more mild extent of like having a backup generator, electricity, water supply, all that
I like
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
But not that I have to take care of myself forever and protect my seed. And like, it goes way far, way too quick. So always position yourself to figure out how to have a good time. And right now, yeah, what do you do if your taps don't have water and HEB's out? Like, just kind of start to imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
Like here in Central Tech, or here in Austin,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Edwards Edwards Aquifer is still looking pretty decent.
Mm.
Trinity over in Hill Country, dog shit, the lowest that ever recorded.
Mm.
And at what point do we receive like the rainfall to refill it? And people will say like, oh, when the hurricane comes through, you are catching a percentage of actually through your water infiltration to refill your aquifers. Like, no, we've been moving backwards for a long time now. And yeah, unfortunately, I don't have many answers. I have questions just like everyone else.
You've given some answers, I would say, to
at
a
least
degree throughout this.
Two. But I just want people to start being able to position themselves in that degree.
Mm-hmm.
And this is myself as just like a single white dude without kids. I think it's difficult to imagine you're raising a family and thinking of how you're able to convert your real estate here to sell in the future when there is no water. When it's Miami and you've just been blasted and you're now underwater.
Mm-hmm.
To completely like scale those out of potential possibility, yeah, I'm never gonna be able to educate you. And that's fine. And then if I get stabbed to death, that's fine too. I'm just happy to get ice bath when I can, watch a hockey game, go to a metal show, and more importantly, ensure I'm hosting as close an intimate relationship with nature as I can. Because at the end of the day, that's what guides me. That is my God. Yeah. And I'm just learning along the way.
I love that, man. And that was a phenomenal way to conclude this. What I want to do is just give you the opportunity to shout out where people can find you. And I just want to say, like, thank you for coming on. Like, I really enjoy your energy and like what you're passionate about. And I hope to grow this podcast to an extent that it makes a difference in each guest that comes on. Like if, like let's say in a few months, like you were to come on, or maybe a year if you're still in Austin and you came on and it brought enough attention to provide you with some kind of information or resources to do what you're trying to do. That's like an accomplishment for me. But anyways, man, thank you for coming on. And yeah, if you want to shout out where people can find you, and then like just a concluding message, like, I know we discussed how Jason coordinates like river cleanups or lake cleanups, but just like throw out any concluding things.
So I don't know where I'll be tonight, next week. Easiest thing is Google Farmer Peppy. Honestly, don't know why I'd want to, unless you have like goat questions or. There's so you guys Google how do I make Austin a better place, and I swear to God, like even that algorithm will bounce something back to you. I'm not the one that has the answers for that. What I want, you to do more, just whatever that might be, for just investing back into your natural systems. Selfishly, I would like it if people listen to more metal. I think that is the soundtrack of the apocalypse. Like, I swear to God, if this Titanic ship goes down, we're just listening to Mumford and Sons. Like, I can't. It's like, we all know that it's these heavy riffs is what we're about to be stepping into. Yeah. And I need more of that. Don't take life too seriously. Try and laugh things off. And at the end of the day, I do believe in 20, 25 years, things do reset. We find our place. By that time, I think 20 to 40% of all global life would have been lost. And that's what we call a bummer.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
Sick.
All right. Peace out.